Okay, those are key usability concepts. We care a lot about requirements in Kairos, and we support requirements management and requirements modeling. You'll see different concepts like goals and requirements. Main things to remember is that requirements are not environment specific. They always hold. Goals and obstacles are environment specific. So you could model some system goals for a particular environment, or you could just decide default is your common environment. All you need to care about is that if you care about modeling countermeasures and linking and showing how countermeasures address risks, and you want to see the risks will dynamically change, you will have to model both goals and requirements, and we'll see how shortly. So this is how all the concepts fit together. We might have a goal, which might be refined to requirements, and obstacles, which are bad things, a lot like nodes and attack trees will conflict with them. Domain properties are things which are hypotheses that you believe are important to hold about the system, or assumptions you want to make, but you want to capture in the model some way. And these could be associated with certain goals too. Assets can be concerned with requirements and goals. Tasks and use cases can be operationalized, so they add context to goals or requirements, and obstacles can be associated with threats and vulnerabilities that we'll see shortly. So for adding requirements, the screen looks a little bit like this. Key points here is that we associate requirements with either assets or environments, typically assets, and that's saying either that this requirement makes this asset happen if it's something that we're building, or this requirement constrains the asset. One of the things we are quite keen on are fit criterion. So when you're specifying requirements, you should be writing some text about how we might test that requirement. And Kairos will throw up problems if you don't specify fit criterion. You can add traceability links between requirements. So in the requirements table, you'll see these green arrows on the right-hand side. So if we click on the right-hand arrow, that will indicate a contribution link between the requirement that you've highlighted and some other requirements. You might have seen these smiley faces in some of the requirement or risk models. So these are what are called churn-off faces. And what they do is they actually visualize properties of the requirements. So you can see the face on the left seems happier than the one on the right. And it turns out the one on the right has got certain problems with the specification. You'll see the colors there are meaningful as well. So the red text might indicate the priority. Sometimes the faces will actually change depending on where there's pre-requirements or post-requirements traceability. This is what the different aspects of the face represent. So the eyebrows represent the completeness of the requirement. The shape of the eye indicates where there is an imperative tense. So, A shall do B. If that's not there, the eye shape will change. And there's a whole search on there's a whole sort of analysis that's done on requirements ambiguity. So the fuzzier the requirement is, the more the smile is going to turn into a frown. And when you've got really big requirements models, and I've worked on projects where we've had big requirement models, this feature is actually quite a nice way of pinpointing problematic requirements, particularly if the problematic requirement is leading to some problem in your system that might be exploitable. So all I've talked about there are requirements. This is an example of a goal model. So I'm not going to go too much into what all these different things mean, other than you can refine goals either on an and basis. So we have a white circle between an upper level goal and lower level goals that indicates, and the black circles indicate an or refinement that we have to satisfy one or the other to achieve the high level goal. That works for obstacles as well. So the yellow boxes are obstacles, and we'll see shortly that these can change color, and we can see relationships between tasks. So tasks show up in these goal models as well. Requirements show up in these models as well. They're literally it's the same shape. We specify goals in much the same way that we specify requirements. We can add relationships between goals. So you can indicate what the sort of head and tail might be. And if you specify the head type, the options of the tail will actually change. So Kairos is going to stop you adding relationships between things that aren't actually allowed. Much like all the other models, as you start building up these relationships, the models actually build up as well. Obstacles are important from a security perspective. Obstacles define what can go wrong, what obstructs certain things. And one of the key features of an obstacle is the probability value. So this will be a value between 0 and 1, indicating how likely you think this obstacle is. And this becomes useful when we refine obstacles to threats and vulnerabilities. And here's another example. So in this example here, we've got a password policy goal, and then we've got a password length goal. That is a refinement of that. What this shows is that a short password is an obstruction to a password length requirement. And we could do all sorts of analysis on what could lead to that particular obstruction happening. What this does indicate is that an ICT partner role, we're assuming here that this is some third party, is responsible for the password expiration and the password length requirements. And there's also responsibility models that actually show dependencies that between different roles through these goals as well.